Hello. Oh, wait.
Oh yeah.
Poem podcast.
Shout out to Spotify for this.
Thanks for
Please start over.
Yeah,
That was
I don't know.
bad. Hey, welcome to our AP Literature Poem Podcast.
My name is Tegan,
This is Nevaeh.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Shelby.
and today we are going to be analyzing and talking about the poem A Story by Lee Young Lee. Alright, we're going to get started by reading the poem. Sad is the man who has asked for a story and can't come up with one. His 5-year-old son waits in his lap.
Not the same story, Bubba. A new one.
The man rubs his chin, scratches his ear. In a room full of books, in a world of stories, he can recall not one, and soon, he thinks, the boy will give up on his father. Already, the man lives far ahead. He sees the day this boy will go. Don't go. Hear the alligator story, the angel story once more. You love the spider story. You laugh at the spider. Let me tell it. But the boy is packing his shirts. He is looking for his keys. Are you a god, the man screams, that I sit mute before you? Am I a god that I should never disappoint? But the boy is here.
Please, Bubba, a story.
It is an emotional rather than logical equation, an earthly rather than heavenly one, which posits that the boy's supplications and a father's love add up to silence.
The prompt we were given was to analyze how the poet conveys the complex relationship of the father and the son through the use of literary devices such as point of view and structure.
Throughout the poem, I noticed that the point of view is emphasized when the father has a flash forward prediction, because it's like it occupies his mind a lot, where he is trying to cherish the moments that he has with his son as a young boy, but he just knows that one day the time is going to come where he's going to leave and like move out of the house.
And like it really emphasizes that, like, the father's like, I don't know, like desperation that he's like gonna grow up when he's like, don't go, hear the alligator story, and like he's like, it's just like showing his desperation like as the story goes on. Like it just starts with him and his son like in his lap, and then the father like starts getting like obsessive thoughts about his son like growing up and stuff.
Yeah,
Just,
because
like,
the third stanza, I noticed that it kind of like the tone was that the father is anxious, and then the fourth one goes to despair, and then it transitions to confusion when he is asking like, am I a god that I should never disappoint, in line 17 or 18, sorry.
Yeah, so like the tone like kind of shifts. Like I feel like the first two stanzas, he's just like, it's kind of like imagery, like you just see him innocently sitting in there with his son, and then like the second one, soon he thinks the boy will give up on his father. Then it shifts, and then it just like gets like worse from there. Like it just like spirals into like
It's like he's noticing the reality.
yeah.
And then when it leads up to the last paragraph, like, we can just tell he's very, like, exhausted and defeated, and, like, because it says a father's love adds up to silence. So, like, he's just done. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing left in him.
Yeah, it's very like emotionally draining, like going through all that stress and that anxiety, and you can kind of feel that as like the poem progresses, and he goes from like some like, oh, he's just sad, to he's like desperate, and he's like super sad about his son leaving, and then by the end he's just completely exhausted from it. And
Yeah, it shows like the complexity, because it like the boy's like beckoning for this story, like demanding a story, demanding something new and entertaining, and it seems like the father's getting frustrated that he can't come up with a story, and he's frustrated that his son is like begging him for a story, but he's feeling like guilt for his frustration because he knows the boy's gonna grow up. And I think that like shows that also, like it like wraps it up at the end when he says, but the boy is here, and it says a boy's supplications and a father's love add up to silence. So it just kind of like wraps it up, like it just shows the complexity by like showing his frustration and expressing it, and then at the end he comes back together and like has a realization that the boy is not growing up.
Yeah, in the last stanza, I noticed that the tone is more focused on the father's frustration because he knows that his son is only 5 and he can't understand why he's not given different stories to accommodate him.
Yeah.
I think when he says the boy's here, I think it's that's his reintroduction to reality. That he realizes like he's here now, but like he's not gonna always be here.
Yeah. It's kind of confusing though, like when it says, please Baba, a story, and then it's saying it is an emotional rather than a logical question, an earthly rather than heavenly one. Like I don't really understand that part, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking for that one, it's kind of like it's an emotional rather than a logical equation. Because you know, it doesn't really make sense. Why would a father's love and a boy's like asking for a story lead up to silence? Because logically that doesn't make sense, but emotionally and like seeing, like understanding the father's emotions and how the boy doesn't understand those emotions, it kind of, that's how it adds up rather than logic. That's just kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like the son thinks that it should be logical, but it's just not that simple.
Yeah.
So that's where his emotions come in while he's asking the question.
Yeah, I think, like, just, like, bouncing back to the prompt, the point of view of this story is really, like, complicated because it sounds like it's, like, a father, like, he's, like, reflecting on when this moment happened, like, when he went to read a story to his son. Like, it sounds like the father's, like, reflecting on this event. I can't really, like, it's hard to tell, like, a definitive point of view, but it definitely, like, it definitely contributes to the complexity and, like, shows the relationship, but there's not really, like, a, like, definitive point of view, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, like, when, because he's definitely, like, it's past tense, but it's hard to tell, like, how old the father is, I guess, or the narrator as he is telling the story, and like how old his son is as he is telling the story, because when he's reflecting on it, he's 5, so you know, it could be a day after or it could be 10 years after, like you don't really know. It's kind of, that one's kind of hard to tell, but that kind of just adds to the complexity of the poem. Okay, I think that pretty much sums up our analysis on the poem A Story.
Yeah, I guess, like, overall I liked it. I feel like it has an important message, and it just brings a different perspective into light that I feel like I wouldn't have, like, thought about if I didn't read the poem.
Yeah, the poem makes me very anxious for growing up myself because I don't want my mom to feel the way he felt about me leaving. Because that's just so sad.
Yeah, overall I like the poem. The structure is good in the way it conveys the relationship with the father and the son.
Yeah, I definitely like the poem too. It's not too long, but it gets the point across, and it definitely teaches a good lesson, and yeah, I really liked it actually. All right, well, I think we're done, so ciao.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Tune in next week.